So with us, starting from the other end, is Steve Hall. AdRads, about a million page views a month, roughly.
That's pushing it, but you can say that. About 800,000.
It's about advertising, marketing. It's a B2B site. Interesting to have someone as a major B2B publisher in the sector, business to business publisher in the sector. John Chow, internationally renowned, made money. Infamous. Made money blogger. He also has a number of other product review sites. And Ian Fernando blogs about affiliate marketing, but also has a number of other publications which he runs too. So just to get started, just to break the ice, how are you guys making money with your sites at the moment? So let's start with Ian.
Well, specifically with all my sites, I do a lot of paid performance, and with content, I actually throw a bunch of paid pages, and specifically with my blog, I do a lot of affiliate marketing on my blog and selling space on my blog as well. So the blog itself basically makes money on its own after my brand exploded and people started wanting to leverage my brand to their advantage. So banner spots are being sold, paid posts are on there. Even when I write reviews about product that I personally use and like, I talk about it, give the experience of what I thought it was, and then put my affiliate links on there. And I make money that way with affiliate marketing with blog content. So those are just one simple way I do with my blog content.
So Ian, how would that work for you? Without having your name attached to it, could you have an anonymous affiliate blog and make the same revenue that you are without having your brand so positively attached to the content and also the stuff that you're recommending?
Yeah, you definitely can. You just have to make an anonymous brand. You know, for me, I just got in because I want to make something where I can talk about my trials and errors in marketing, my traffic source that I talked about, and then my brand actually leverage stuff. But anybody can make a white label name and then start making good content under an anonymous name where they don't want to be known, but they want to share their experience and results. So they can definitely do that and still make an amount of money.
But you give a strong personal recommendation with the products that you're promoting.
Correct.
Do you think there's as much leverage if there's not a personal brand attached to it?
Well, you're still talking from a point of view from a person, right? You're still saying this is working from my point of view. My name is just my name, and if you want to put an anonymous name behind it, it's still a recommendation from somebody else, right? Even though that where my brand has been leveraged, there's more trust in my name, where if I just made, I don't know, John Smith's site, and if they Google their name, it's really maybe a little hesitant, but still, it's still coming from a personal perspective.
Right. John, how do you monetize your sites?
Well, my current business model is I drive traffic to my site using mostly organic traffic and some pay-per-click and Facebook ads. Once a person comes to my blog, my immediate goal is to capture the email address. Basically, that's why you see a huge pop-up for first-time visitor come to my blog. It's just the entire site blanks out and an opt-in page shows up. And you only get it once because it's very annoying. But it's also very effective. So once I get the email address, I then push them through an automated email sales funnel. I send them a series of different emails designed to establish trust, build a relationship, and also to promote anything that I wish to recommend. So by being able to build a relationship with the new reader, they're a lot more receptive to anything I say. Like the first couple of emails will just basically say, introduce myself, thank you for checking me out, connect with me on Twitter, Facebook. So first couple of emails, build a relationship. Subsequent email will teach them to do certain tasks, in my case, how to set up a blog, how to start blogging. And during these emails, I would recommend various products they can use to build a better blog, drive some traffic, and if some of these products I recommend has an affiliate program, I would link it with my affiliate program, and that's how we make money through it. And in the last few years, I've been able to actually measure this. Every person going through this sales funnel, or any person who signs up through my email address, is worth $10 to me. And currently, I sign up about 200 new people per day.
And how long did it take before you got that kind of scale of registration, and also how long did it take you to actually work out the precise metrics for optimizing that sales funnel?
When I first, it took me about 4 months to go from zero to about $3,000 a month. And then after that, we just kept going. As for doing the measurement, it takes about, you need about a good 4 months of information before you can analyze this stuff.
And for someone else building a site and then trying to monetize that user base as they sign up, what tips would you have for them in monetizing that email newsletter through the subscription process?
The first tip would be, A, don't go for the hard sell. Email is about building relationships, getting to know your reader, and establishing trust. So there's no need to go for a hard sell when you're doing an email sales funnel campaign. All my emails recommend, they never sell. So a lot of stuff I recommended is like I was recommending web hosting. I would recommend a HostGator because they host my blog. So I have personal experience with them. So I tell a story and say why I do these guys. I use these guys, I have personal experience with these guys. And that does not come off as a sales pitch. A lot more receptive, the conversion is much, much higher. And we'll always be tweaking. I'm always tweaking the sales letter, always tweaking the sales funnel, experimenting with new things. Like right now I'm up to $10, but you're constantly tweaking. It takes a while to get there. So constantly monitor and constantly tweaking, sometimes changing just a headline. You can have a measurable response.
And do you consult for other people doing that, or do you just do it for your own site?
I do not do any consulting because I have a personal rule that I never trade hours for dollars. So doing consulting means I'm trading hours for dollars, and I don't do that. So I create systems that create the income, so I can basically go discount my dollar.
Steve, how do you monetize your site?
A number of different ways. But interestingly, and this is going to be strange to say at an affiliate marketing conference, but most of my ad sales comes from direct ad sales. I have a couple of guys who sell space. Doesn't that sound old-fashioned? But it makes money. My site, as Murray said, is a B2B site, and so I'm somewhat limited in some of the things that I can do. I experimented early on with some ad networks, and a lot of the offers and ads and brands that were in those networks just didn't make sense. Trying to sell phone service and a lot of consumer-related services that didn't make sense for my B2B audience. And to John's point about making it personal and getting into something that we'll talk about more here, content marketing, I have an ad unit called the AdvoPost. I just made that name up. And it's basically paid editorial. And we will go out to brands and we'll make a recommendation for them to participate on our site. They may do some banner advertising, they may do some other things, some direct mail. One of the things we'll promote is what's called the AdvoPost, paid editorial, and I'll write it. The brand will obviously say, well, this is what we want to sell, this is what we want to accomplish, and then I'll take that and I'll write that in the tone of the site so that it just becomes more fluid in the way that the selling takes place. And it's not like we're tricking the readers. I mean, it's marked as an ad and it looks different, but it's in line with the rest of the content of the site. And it's done well. In fact, it usually does 10 to 20 times better than any sort of traditional advertising that I've done. Another thing I recently got into was lead generation through a company called Madison Logic, and it's basically a revenue share thing. You offer free stuff to your readers. Mostly it comes in the form of a downloaded white paper. And leads are captured in that process. And the revenue is shared between the company, Madison Logic, and the publisher, myself. So that's been, I've been doing that for 4 or 5 months, and that's been quite profitable. Surprisingly so, actually. AdSense, I mean, there's usual filler type stuff. But if you are running a site that is focusing on a particular B2B audience, there's not a lot of ad network type opportunities out there. Although, there is one called Bizzo, and it's B-I-Z-O. And much like an ad network, it's banners and it's revenue share. And that has done quite well. The beauty that you get out of that is you become an inventory provider, and they're able to collect data on your site. So if you've never done a readership study, if you don't really know who your readers are, if you don't have a factual spreadsheet that can tell you that stuff, you get that just from participating with Bizzo, because they'll give you a profile, what industry people work in, where they came from, that sort of thing. Yeah, you'll probably get a lot more from Google Analytics, but this helps as well. So that's a few things. I don't want to talk the whole panel.
So we talked a little bit about, we started to talk about branded content. Steve, let's follow up with that. What do you see, how do you see branded content evolving? How are advertisers coming to you with that? Is it entirely you, or are they coming to want to contribute and have that and create that content themselves? And how's that really working for us as a publisher?
Oh, it runs the gamut from brands coming and saying, we'd like to contribute an article, for free. I mean, sometimes I look at that, hey, that's great content, I don't have to do the work, it benefits the site, yes, I'll take your contribution. And then it ranges to the advert post that I talked about. But interestingly, when I first started, this is probably 2001-ish, and if you were to mention content marketing or writing editorial that was, let's be honest, paid for, someone came to me and said, I'll give you money if you write about my company, that was frowned upon and looked as interfering with the separation of church and state. But that's changed now. And you see major publications like Mashable, who half their editorial is paid for. They have these series sponsored by Microsoft, but it's a good thing, it's not bad. I mean, the editorial is informative, it's sponsored, there's an intro and an outro before and after the article. And so Mashable is making money, they're making thousands of dollars. And they're putting out valuable content, and it's becoming more and more acceptable. You couldn't do this 10 years ago. And even when I launched that AdverPost unit, people would frown on it. How could you possibly do this? You have to say it's an ad. And I guess in all honesty, I didn't market appropriately at first. But it's marked now. But brands are understanding the notion of content marketing. People are writing books about it. People are understanding that, yeah, we have ads, but we have a lot more to say. And for a brand to come to a publisher and say, we can give you this content, either free or paid. And brands can become content marketers themselves. And that's happening a lot too. Whereas they're not necessarily relying on publishers. That can be, of course, a good and a bad thing for us.
John, so we've got one question for the audience about, they want to ask about the evolution towards the list. I'm not quite sure if you could clarify that, whoever asked that. But also, how are you working with branded content? Are people coming to you with, brands increasingly coming to you with content they want you to republish? And how do you see that evolving within your site?
Most brands don't give me content. I do offer sponsor reviews. Like, I generally don't accept a sponsored editorial or editorial because if the advertiser insists, I will accept it after I approve the copy. But most of the time, I recommend the advertiser to say, let us do the review because it's for their benefit. Because the readers, when they see the review or the content written by one of my staff writers, they tend to be a lot more receptive to it than say it was written by the advertiser, because then just look at the press release.
So it's johnchow.com, but lots of the content written for you.
90% of the content is still produced by myself.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's johnchow.com, so they expect it from John Chow.
Yep. Ian, what about you? Are you finding branded content coming your way?
I most likely write all my content because my blog is in the affiliate performance space, and I talk a lot about case studies, my experience, my trials and errors with traffic sources, and why people should use this traffic source over another. So most of my content is almost about 100% me. And just to cater to John's, I don't usually take content that the editorials really wrote for because it does sound like a press release. And since my blog is a personal blog, I want it to sound like I am recommending something to somebody else. I don't want it to sound like a sales pitch because the blog is very, very personal. I talk about a lot of my travels, experience, errors, and traffic sources people shouldn't use, affiliate network they shouldn't use, etc. So it's a lot of my own personal experience in how I want other users to, go do everything the right way and not get suckered in by the spiel and talk on the internet.
So Ian, obviously you do a lot of affiliate marketing. I know Steve does less affiliate marketing on his site, but Ian, John, do you want to talk about how you work with affiliate programs, what's really working, what you see evolving as well within the affiliate marketing space?
So there's a lot of changes that have been happening. I've been in the space for about 6 years, and it has changed a lot within those 6 years. Most of the stuff I do is all paid traffic, paid sources to an affiliate offer, and to maybe a recommendation page, landing page, or an advertorial page. And the space I do can rapidly grow and sink pretty fast. So with the affiliate space, you have to always make sure you're reading good content that's always out there. For example, like I recommend like reading AppBuzz, because AppBuzz has like the top affiliate blogs out there that talks about affiliate marketing, who's being shady, who's not being shady, who's paying, who's losing $10,000, etc. So it's more of receiving the information properly and knowing how to react to that information. The affiliate space itself definitely changed. The government's getting into it, and you just have to adjust to that space.
John, do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, pretty much what I agree with Ian. Like I said, my affiliate market is done mostly through my email list, and when I'm looking for products to promote, I like to personally try it out. Because I like to give personal recommendation. For example, the company who handles my email is Aweber, so that's who I recommend to bloggers who want to set up their own email system. I recommend Aweber because I have personal experience using it, and how I do it is I teach them how to use it. Basically, it's selling by teaching. So by showing them the advantages of what this product can do, all its features and its benefit, and giving them a free trial. I gave up just a $1 free trial, and I just refer them that way. And the cool thing I like about the Aweber's affiliate plan, and there are other companies who offer these type of affiliate plan, is that it is an ongoing residual. The Aweber's affiliate program is 30% of their billings for life. So over the past 5 years, I'm making 30% of hundreds and hundreds of people that I refer to Aweber. And this is the reason my income has kept going up every single year, even though the number of ad space you see on my blog has remained the same. My ad presence has never changed. It always hasn't increased, and no additional ad spot. I took away ad spot, but my income keeps going up because every day I keep adding new people to these programs that gives me a residual income every single month.
So obviously, we're seeing increasingly companies coming up with solutions to monetize pictures, monetize video, and even if you're serving that, are you now needing to have a content delivery network to speed up your site because you've got heavier content? How are you monetizing? Ian, how are you monetizing text, video, and images differently?
So it varies. Back in the day, I used to accept sponsored videos where an advertiser would actually have their ad in my video, and they would just have a 15-second or 30-second spiel, like similar to what you see on how YouTube's advertising on high-volume videos on YouTube. I usually do the same thing as well. So they pay a higher price for that video space because I can't remove the ad after it's in the video after I've edited it, unless I re-upload the video. So when people want to say, hey, I want to monetize your video content, I want to monetize your Twitter profile, I want to buy space here, then I find a solution. For video, it's more of an advertorial space. For Twitter, somebody wants me to tweet something, which I rarely try not to accept it because my Twitter profile is very, very personal, and I want to give good recommendations instead of an ad on there. For other things, it really depends. I got to figure out what will benefit me and what will benefit end user. Most importantly, I want to make sure that the thing that I'm advertising to everyone in my user base will make sense. I don't want the users to see a Gillette commercial on my affiliate performance marketing blog. It just doesn't make sense. Even though they're willing to pay me, it just doesn't make sense for me to just take the advertorial and push it to my audience because there's a totally different audience from what Gillette wants to advertise on. So it very differentiates.
John, how are you monetizing text, video, and images differently?
Well, for video, I am a YouTube partner, and I do recommend everyone who has a YouTube account should actually apply for it. Like, it doesn't really take that many views on your videos to become a YouTube partner. YouTube evaluation, I don't know the exact evaluation, but I think it's based on the number of videos you have, and how many total views. And really only have like, well, I'm in YouTube video views anyway, so and they give me partnership. The advantage of being a YouTube partner wasn't just because you get higher advertising rate, but you also, they removed the 15-minute time limit. So you are not limited on your videos upload. As long as the video is less than 20 gigs, which is like 4 hours of HD, you don't have to worry about hitting any limit. So that's the main reason why I became a YouTube partner. And as for text, usually I monetize text by embedding affiliate links right into the text. Like when I review a product, I would, like in my little video setup there, I would link to Amazon, I link to the manufacturer. And I do sell direct advertising. I do not use Google AdSense anymore. My personal thing with advertising is I really think that advertising, if you're a new blog, advertising should be your last revenue channel. Absolutely your last revenue channel, because advertising and traffic building are counterproductive. You know, when you're first starting out, you want to build traffic, you want to create content, build traffic, establish a readership. And it's very, very hard to do when you have advertising sending your readers away. And this is especially hard with Google AdSense, because with Google AdSense, the ad cannot open a new window. They basically, when they click, they leave your site. Like on my personal advertising, my direct advertising, when someone puts an ad, they pop a new window, so my site is still there. But you can't do that with Google Ad. So when you're starting out, concentrate on building content, concentrate on building readership, and don't think so much about the advertising. When it finally comes to the monetizing your site, just think of other ways. Because ads take your readers away, then you're trying to build an audience. So you'll get to the point where eventually you can sell ads and it won't affect your readership. When you're first starting out, hold off on the advertising.
Just to add to that, I want to say exactly the same thing, just because when I first started making my blog, I didn't even think about advertising. And once I started building my readership and brand, advertisers actually came to me and asked me, hey, I want to put $100, can I put a banner on your site? And that was the first time I actually monetized my blog. And now, if you put in an AdSense site, especially on a new content site, Google actually sees your site, and if there's no traffic, Google will actually slowly de-index you slowly because your site is not relevant, there's no traffic. And that's the reason why you shouldn't put banner ads on a brand new site without 15 pages, because Google's going to see that all you want to do is just monetize this content. And Google doesn't want that, especially if you're trying to rank in the search. And if you're trying to just monetize content right away without any brand loyalty on it or any content related on that specific site, Google will slowly just de-index that site. So it's important to actually grow traffic naturally without thinking of advertising specifically, just because Google will see that, hey, your goal is to only make money on this site, so I'm not going to show it to the users that are searching for information or related to that specific topic they're searching for.
Thank you. John, we've got two questions over from the audience for you. Firstly is, when did you start to make the shift towards having a heavy emphasis on your email list? And secondly, although I don't know if you want to answer this, what's the cost per acquisition for a user for you?
I think it was that's you,
John.
Yeah.
That's me?
Yeah.
When did I start monetizing the site?
When did you really make the shift to email as your revenue stream?
Oh, okay.
And also, what's the cost per acquisition? Do you know? Are you willing to share?
Yeah. I started pushing a major shift to email about after my second year of blogging. Yeah. For the first 8 months of blog's life, absolutely no ads, no monetization, nothing on it. So it was just building traffic, establishing trust, building relationship with the reader. And then, so after 8 months later, I finally monetized it, and then within 4 months, I was up to $3 grand a month and just keep going up after that. And the email list came about was just the same thing. How can I continue building relationship with the reader? Because when I'm looking at my analytics, I noticed that those, like most sites, there's a high bounce rate. Especially when someone comes from a search engine, they land on your site, they read the article, and then they will leave. And the instant they leave, within 30 seconds, they'll forget who you are. So and at first I started, well, you say bookmark me, that's all, I subscribe to my RSS. But RSS in itself is quite limited because RSS is a one-way communication tool. It's not a two-way. So I made the shift about a year afterward. I made the shift to email because it just allows me to capture their names and establish trust and build a relationship with them. If I had to do it all over again, I would have begun with the email list from day one. If I had done that, my list would be twice the size it is today, and my income would be twice as high. And so, if you're starting a new blog, the email list should be the same as your hosting and your domain name. It's just part of the ongoing cost. And I do get people who say complain they don't want to pay the $19 a month, but don't think it's $19 a month. Look at how much you're really losing down the road if you don't do this from the get-go. That's what the cost of acquisition is actually. Is because of the majority of my traffic is organic. I do a bit of advertising, but the majority is organic, so my cost of acquisition is pretty much near zero.
Okay. How do you choose the types of content that you make? Every day you make decisions. You're going to publish a new post. How do you decide what you're going to write about? Is it purely? Do you focus more on the readership? Do you focus more on the advertising opportunities? How are you thinking about the types of content you're creating? And do you create specific types of content for specific advertising opportunities?
I would say yes. I mean, you have to know your audience, and you have to write what you think they're going to be interested in. That comes once you have an audience. Of course, if you don't have an audience, then you're going to write what you're interested in, and what your subject matter is. But over time, you're going to find out what they're interested in. I write about advertising, so I'm always going to write about advertising and what's related to advertising. Whether that be a new campaign or some trend or social media. But you have to be aware of what your competitors are writing about as well. And if you can, get a gauge on how successful they are. Because it changes over time what the interest is going to be. You might start somewhere, but you might end up somewhere else. So that's sort of half answers that question.
John?
My biggest source of content is my readership. I get a lot of emails every day, and whenever I come across a question that is asked by several people, instead of answering all these emails, I read blog posts on it, because I figure if I'm getting 5 emails the same question, there must be more people asking the same questions. That's one source of content. My second biggest source of content is my comments. So when I'm reading the comments, a lot of the time, what the reader commented on can lead to additional blog posts. So those two things alone account for a good 60% of the content is on my blog. The other 40% is just basically my own personal stuff, like where I'm going, traveling to trade show, like just to put this somewhere alone, I'm going to get over a dozen blog posts out of it. So if you're looking for content, come to a trade show and you can get a whole bunch.
And Ian?
Basically, like I said before, I talk about more on experience. I talk about more of my trials and errors, because I actually want to share my mistakes with everybody else and say, hey, you should do this over this, or maybe you should do this over that. Just because in the performance space, there's a lot of news and things that you can do wrong if you're not doing it properly. So a lot of my readership are new people or intermediate readers where they want to test out a traffic source, but they really don't want to test it until there's some type of review out there. And not a lot of performance marketers or even affiliate marketers that write about, or that write on their blog will talk about traffic source, because traffic source is a competitor. If I told you traffic source, you're basically competing against me. But the difference with me and probably somebody starting is that I would probably spend more money than somebody just starting out, right? So there's really no competition, I think, personally, when I'm doing my traffic sources. So I only write based on what I think will benefit my readership. And most of my stuff are all experience, trials and errors, and my recommendations. So I look to what people will ask me. I look at my comments, but most of the time it's just what I think will benefit the end user.
So Steve, you're paid to travel around the world, take photos of mainly hot women, publish them.
Yes.
How long did it take, and how big an audience did you have to have before advertisers wanted to engage you to make, create, and publish that content?
Well, the photos, you mean the photos?
Yeah.
Well, it came out of, the industry had to know who I was. They didn't. I worked in the industry for, 15 or 20 years before I started blogging about it. And of course, you know, how many people can know you, a few companies, stuff like that. So I started writing about it, and I started getting an audience, just because I was unemployed and I needed something to do, and I liked advertising, and so I would write about it, and it would keep me in tune with the industry. And part of that, of course, was, I'm providing news, I'm providing information about what's going on in the industry. And part of that is going to conferences. And one of the first conferences I went to was AdTech. And a couple friends of mine and I approached AdTech and said, you guys need a blog, you guys need some sort of content program to cover what's going on at the conference, because they didn't have anything at all. Now everybody's got a blog, and everybody goes to a conference, and everybody writes about it, a conference. That started, and then I don't know, to answer you specifically, how many readers did I need? How many, not a lot, I mean, 100,000 page views, 200,000 page views a month, just a little bit of scale. And then it's your presence as well, because I go to a lot of conferences and people just see me. They just see me around. And I'm really not as successful or as popular as you think. I'm really not. I want to be honest.
He's actually the biggest guy here.
Anyway, so photography was always a passion, but it became a necessity, because if you're going to a conference, there's a lot to see. I mean, there's sessions, there's people, there's speakers, there's parties, there's dinners, and that content becomes very, very interesting, and that content becomes a means to bring readers to your site. And it's sort of catapulted, because people now know that I go to these conferences, they know I'm going to go to their party, they know I'm going to go to their session, and they expect to see the photos the next few days. That also grew, so that grows my content, that grows my readership, and out of that, of course, comes a whole lot of things. But out of that grew paid photography gigs. I'm paid to take photos at this conference. I'm paid to take photos at LeadsCon. I'm paid to take photos at Daily Deal Summit and a bunch of others. That just came out of, it went both ways. People approached me and said, you're always at conferences, can we have you do our official photography? And then, I was like, people want me to do their official photography? I better start contacting conference organizers, which I did. And so I brought in several other conferences. So that is doesn't have anything to do with affiliate marketing, but it has to do with making money, And that all grew out of the content and my growth and my notoriety and the content that I was producing in the first place.
So, although we joke about photos of hot girls, how do you choose the types of photographic images to take? How do you select the types of content that you think the conference organizer is going to want for you to represent their brand within the images that you're going to select?
You mean, what am I taking photos of, and
why?
Why am I taking them?
Why taking those specific photos? Why are you creating that content?
On the one hand, I'm creating it because I've been asked to. On the other hand, I'm creating it because I think it's going to help further monetize my site, because it's content that I can use to draw an audience. So in terms of who do I take a picture of? Well, this guy's really popular, so I'll take pictures of him. And lots of people want to see John Chow. Ian, too. Ian, all of us, we're all popular, right? Let's be like that. Appreciate people around us. Anyway, hot girls never hurt. They help. Okay, guys are hot too. Hot people, let's say hot people. Look, I offended some people. They're leaving already. Fine, see ya. Anyway, that's all I got.
I think it's with content, for example, like with my blog, I've had pictures because people are actually entertained. I mean, people, in our day and age, the bounce rate for a site is almost less than 3%. If you can't catch those users within 3 seconds within your specific content, even if it's going to be video or images, I mean, you're going to lose that target audience pretty quickly. I mean, this is the reason why I kind of have my blog split where I have it as almost like a traveling blog where I'll break my marketing subjects and break into places I've traveled. I just recently got back from Puerto Rico 3 weeks ago. I talked about what I've done there, etc. It basically breaks the repetitiveness of the content I have on my site. So this way, they still know that it's still a marketing blog, but they're also being entertained. Like with John's blog, he takes pictures of food, he takes his daughter out to the park, and that's the type of relationship that he has with his readership, where it breaks the monotony of content of teaching, where it becomes almost personal. So that type of content creates such a relationship with users where it's not just about teaching content, but also creating personal brand relationships through their blog content.
I would add to that too. I mean, that just kind of pops up into my head too, because when I do take all these pictures and when I go home, and as we all do, we sort of sum up our experiences at the conference. I find that I bring in new and different audiences, because there may be some people that are interested in one particular element of a conference, but they don't necessarily work in advertising. And so I'll take maybe 10, 15 of the greatest shots from a conference, and I'll write a really long article, and I'll sprinkle the pictures in throughout the article. And it becomes an interesting read, and I share my personal experiences at the conference rather than just what happened at the session and the news is and stuff. So it helps me produce content. The pictures are actually a catalyst to help me produce content.
So we have a question from the audience, and we can take more. I'll change the question slightly, but the question is, as a financial educating merchant, how do they find networks and affiliates? So how do you, as publishers, how do you find the networks that you work with, and how do those merchants connect with you as publishers from an affiliate basis? Ian?
So for me it's different because I'm in the performance space and CPA space, so more so the lead gen space. I don't really look for the affiliate network, more so the affiliate network come to me, and then I take a look at the offer and I'll test the offer on a small scale. If the offer works well on a small scale, then I'll take the big scale. It really varies on the network. You have to do some of your research on the affiliate network, make sure they have a good reputation, bad reputation. Are they willing to pay out on that 15, that 7? Are they able to do it daily? Will you be able to leverage your affiliate manager to have a higher payout? There's so many variations in the CPA lead gen space that are totally different from the CPA space. Like, for example, if I want to work with a merchant on CJ.com, I'll just look at the offer, but the problem with CJ.com, and you know why, I kind of won't lean toward that specific space is because it's a net 45, net 30, and if I'm spending close to 5K a day to almost 10K a day on volume and traffic, I need to make sure I get paid daily or almost weekly so I can pay the credit card, knowing that I can pay and still continue my traffic. So it really depends on what you specifically want to look at. As far as organic traffic, you can definitely utilize that to your main advantage, but you also have to understand the type of data you're receiving from the lead gen, from the affiliate network, from your traffic, how your traffic is reacting. So it's a lot of ways to look at it. But most important is basically just researching that network, making sure that network is a reputable network, willing to pay on time, willing to go out of their way for you, because you're sending them business. They need you more than they need anybody else.
So your advice to the merchant is to find a reputable network and also work out fast payment terms, and
correct.
That's what will attract publishers.
Yeah, correct. I mean, you'll get high volume affiliates if you're willing to take a loss up front, knowing that you will monetize that user or lead within a 2-month time frame. So if you want to take that loss up front, then knowing that that lead will be with you for at least 6 months, it's already paid for. So,
John, how do you find the offers and programs that you work with?
Well, like in most of the networks that come to me, but a great place to find your network is just right here at this show. I mean, there's hundreds of exhibitors. Somebody's exhibiting at the booth, and they're looking for you. So go talk to them, introduce yourself, and see what they have to offer.
I agree. The thing is, you need to be smart with these people because they'll tell you the same exact thing.
Everyone has the best payoff.
Yeah. So you definitely have to know what you're talking about. You have to make sure this is a $30 payout, and you make sure DPC is almost around there and not even higher. So there's certain knowledge that you should have in your background so you can start questioning these networks, making sure they are reputable and they know what they're talking about, so they can help you out.
Steve, how do you find the programs that you publish? Because B2B is very different from a lot of the rest of us.
Yeah, it's different. And then the lead generation is what I do a lot of, mostly. There's some, so let me talk about that for a minute. Which I think I did already. That's the management logic that I talked about, whereas revenue share with with white papers and seminars and that sort of thing. And I already forgot your question. Sorry.
Thanks, Steve. So quickly to all of you, how do you select which conferences you go to?
I only go to the conference that Murray's at. Because Murray, he's a party animal.
He's a little wild. He's a little wild.
Just hang with him. I have a teacher that says I'm with Murray, bitch.
Thanks, John. Ian, how did you choose the conferences you go to?
Back in the day, when I first got to the space, I actually went to my first affiliate summit in Vegas, I think in 2008. That's where I met John Chow and everybody out there. And in that year alone, I basically went to almost everything, all those affiliate conferences. And the reason why I like coming back to affiliate summits is because this is my space, this is my industry, right? I feel more comfortable learning about paid traffic sources and the industry change, the government issues, the FTC regulations, because all the affiliate information, performance information is here. AdTech is another one that I go to because it is more on the technical and technology side of advertising. So I go there because I want to understand what new traffic sources are out there, what new advertisers are out there, what kind of new companies are coming up to help me with my marketing strategies. So those are the two that I definitely recommend to others. I've been to almost all of them, and these are the only two that I basically recommend.
Steve, apart from those that pay you to go,
Oh, that's what I was going to say.
how do you choose other conferences you go to?
The conferences that have the hottest run, no, that's going to get me in trouble. No, in all seriousness, it's content that interests you, your business, your industry. Like Ian said, I mean, this conference is very important if you're an affiliate marketer and if you're in this space. AdTech for the same reasons. LeadsCon is another conference, just a little small slice of this industry and other industries. But I go because, aside from the fact that sometimes I'm paid to go, for the photo jobs, is because I get to, and the other thing is, most of us, a lot of us, we work at home, we work alone, we run our own businesses, and we don't get to go to the office every day and interact with people. And sometimes the conferences are the only time that gets to happen, where you get to network with people. Either you've arranged something in advance, or you've decided to meet with a particular company, but you never know what's really going to happen when you're wandering down the hallway, and who you're going to meet, and what sort of business can come out of that. So I just usually identify conferences that are related either directly or peripherally to what it is that I do, and then I choose those to go. I mean, I go to South by Southwest, which really for me has nothing to do with making money, it's just fun. But, there's some money-making aspects of that too. But again, it's what's going to grow your business, and that's how I decide which conferences I'm going to go to.
So trying to take questions from the audience, we have 15 minutes left. How important is video content, and how do you create it, and obviously how do you monetize it? So we'll start with Ian.
How I create video content is basically, I have a whiteboard at home, and I basically teach what performance marketing and what affiliate marketing is about. Some of my videos are going to be videos basically about conversations where I've been to, like for example, I'm going to have my and just take videos of this session and me talking to people. That's basically video content. But for me, when I first started doing video content, I was definitely shy in front of the camera. If you see my first video on YouTube, you'll see me stuttering, so it's not that good, right? But once I started getting used to it, knowing that no one's really watching me that personally, but it's on the internet, I kind of just became comfortable at me just doing it repetitively. And the content I decided to just do is basically, if you look back into my YouTube channel, it's basically my trial and errors on what I did in marketing and how I surpassed my issues. And basically about almost anything I want to talk about that I find interesting about marketing. Monetizing it, basically, it all varies on how I want to do it.
John, you make videos.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of videos. How do you make them? Why do you make them? And how do you monetize them?
Well, how I make it is sitting right there. There you go. You can come take a look at it afterward, and it's basically just an iPhone 4S put onto an M cam with a mic and a tripod, and it's relatively inexpensive. And once you get into video, it's basically it's pretty much the future. So as My videos are divided into basically how-to videos where we teach something, and also there's just personal video which just show us having fun and living the .com lifestyle. So, as for monetizing it, I might have my YouTube partner account. Sometimes, so there's advertising in the videos, and for other videos, when I'm, say, showing off a product, like I would then pop up a video link on the video. So they'll just type it in and it sends it for redirect, and then I'll get my affiliate commission that way.
Steve, how are you making video?
I don't create it myself, but practically every piece of content that I publish has a video in it because I'm writing about ads. But apart from that, I'll just tell you that I partnered with our fellow moderator right here to create a video series, and he's interviewing people in the industry. And we're doing a syndication model. It's sort of a sponsored by, brought to you by AdRent, so we have that content, and it's syndicated out to other sites. And in terms of monetizing it, some of that comes from the people in the interview, some of it will come from selling ads, some of it will come from syndication. But so we're creating content that hopefully is of interest to people in a multitude of the industries that we're in. So we've just started, and hopefully it'll work.
So I'll talk about that a little bit. I started doing a lot of video work over the last several months. I started a series on Justin TV, which is live streaming with tens of thousands of live viewers. That's pretty nerve-wracking the first few times you do it, but can be very rewarding. It's a great way to make connections. It's a great way to communicate what you're trying to communicate, and they sell advertising in it. And your video content is very expensive to make often because it's not expensive to make that anyone can get a video camera, but it's very time consuming to make, and therefore time is money, and therefore I see it as expensive media to make. But if you can make it for channels where there's a big audience, and that's why I wanted to work with Steve. We wanted to work together on a project. We started the video series. We've got it published in 5 major sites, and we're hoping to take that to 20 major sites will carry that video series content. So we're creating high quality video that we syndicate out. I've also started working with, in San Francisco, there are a number of video channels, such as Medio. If you create great content for them, they'll put it out on their homepage and you get 100,000 views per episode. And so I do a weekly show for them. And that really enables you to reach a much bigger audience. And that's something else about creating content. If you're creating great content, you can create it for your own site, but also trying to get that syndicated out into other sites and other publications and work with other people's audiences well beyond your own. Another question from the audience: how do you get good pictures? Are there free places? How do you create picture content? Ian, how do you select the images and pictures, and where do you get them from? Another free places that you can use. Or just grab them from the internet.
Yeah, basically just grab them from the internet and use like restock by our sites, basically. Or if I want a really like professional site I need for, let's say I'm doing like a e-covered and now I'm buying from like a photo stock or paid sites. So I mean, I don't know any free ones unless someone uses like Google search, but you just gotta be careful, obviously. But other than that, I just go to free stock photos.
John, do you have an affiliate program you'd like to recommend?
For photos, I don't. Yeah. Generally, most of the pictures I would just take it myself. If I need some graphics made, I would have my graphic designer and lead graphic designer do the graphics for me. And last resort would be a Google search, but like I said, a Google image search. But like Ian said, do be careful and do respect people's copyright.
Steve, you take photos. That's how you make a living.
Yep.
People use them in their sites. You publish them in Flickr. Some of them are free to use for the public. Are they?
Yeah,
or they
for the most part, let's be honest, I'm probably not monetizing my photography. Well, I am. I mean, getting paid to take the photos, but beyond that, the trouble is that it's so easy to get a picture. And it's easy for me because I'm writing about advertising, and there's always a graphic involved with that. So when marketers are sending me their stuff, there's always an image with it, and it's rare that I actually have to go out and look for something, because if I haven't taken it, the marketer's provided it, which isn't really helping you right now. I don't know, does that answer the question?
So let's move on because we are sort of running out of time. So we have a question from the audience. We've talked a lot about branded content, about bloggers recommending products and services. How can advertisers and publishers reach out to work with other bloggers in their niche and beyond their niche, and start to work with publishers? If you're a merchant, how do you actually go about finding and connecting and getting bloggers to work with you, and what's the best way? What messages should they be sending to you, and what content should they be sending to you? So Ian, let's start with you.
I guess it all depends on how they contact you. Personally, I don't like it when people just contact me and say, hey, we want to work with you, we want to write on your blog, we want to pay for something for a post. I mean, there's really nothing that benefits me, just benefits them, and it's not benefiting me, not benefiting my readership. And the readership is the most important part, where that's my audience. I kind of need to take care of my audience, make sure I'm giving the right information to them. So I think there has to be more of a relationship standpoint where, hey, let's work together on something before we close on an acquisition or a deal together. For example, I know ClickBooth back in the day, we did a lot of video content together, we did webinars together, and then that's the time where we're actually sharing a benefit. I'm leveraging my brand through ClickBooth, and ClickBooth's leveraging their brand through me. And then at that point, it became more of a relationship standpoint where we had an internal relationship where I can talk about ClickBooth because they are a partner that helped me, and me, I push traffic with them as well. So it benefits both sides. It's more so of how can I help you before we actually close on a deal. You don't want to be that guy where, hey, I want you to tweet to your X amount of followers. I need you to push a public status about my company. But it's really not benefiting me per se, it's more benefiting that merchant or company. So more so, for me, it's more on a relationship standpoint.
John, what kinds of content do you want people to be sending you, and how do you want them to contact you, and what creates a good partnership with John Chow?
Well, the easiest way to contact me is just through my blog. So as for content, basically I accept any content that is related to internet marketing and blogging. And so if that's the best way to contact me is that way. But if an advertiser wants to contact a lot of blogs for sponsored content and stuff, the easiest route is just to use a service like Social Sparks or Isaiah or Review Me. That they're like, if you want to reach mommy bloggers, Social Sparks, they pretty much lock them all up.
Yeah. Well, there is that too, and I use that as well. And we've also created programs where we'll go out and sell, for the lack of a better term, sell the opportunity to publish content on the site, and it's wrapped into an overall marketing program, and it's a series. I mean, Mashable does it. You'll see this series brought to you by X company, and then there's an article. Sometimes the content is written by you, sometimes you hire a freelancer, sometimes the content is provided. The way I want to make sure is the content is in your voice and you have control over it, and you have the authority to say, well, yeah, this content's going to work and this content isn't. This would never work several years ago. Again, like I said before, people would see it as the crossing the line between the separation of church and state, because content, you can't sell content. I mean, that's the church. But that's not the way it is anymore. And it's acceptable to sell and market content now.
Just to add on that, I just wanted to retaliate that just a little bit, because if a merchant wants to grow their perspective and continuously grow their brand, I personally think they shouldn't just buy masses of blog content and post it anywhere, right? I think they should create a relationship where more so a person will continuously talk about your brand or company because they believe it in so much because you worked with them for so long, instead of sending mass outdated posts about their company. Even though a huge audience can talk about a company or a merchant, it comes more of where a respectable blogger or a respectable publication will talk more so about you. Wouldn't you want to have a respectable blogger, content, or news person talk about your company on a monthly basis, weekly basis, instead of a one-timer throughout 1 year? And even though you're going through multiple publications once, how out of those hundreds of publications you posted, who are they going to continue to talk about your company or merchant? Probably not, because they're just getting paid for it. You know what I'm saying? So the relationship standpoint is where I think works so much better, where a person that has bigger leverage can benefit off both on the merchant side and on the publisher side.
So I'm going to agree and disagree with you. I do blogging outreach programs, sometimes involving thousands of bloggers, sometimes involving training groups of 10 to 50 bloggers to work with a specific merchant. Obviously, if you reach out to a much broader audience, you do tend to have a much shorter relationship. The crucial thing for me, though, is to look at what, as we've discussed today, look at who the publisher's audience is. Look at what will be great content for the individual bloggers to actually help benefit the readership that they've got, and then actually approach them in the right way. Going to conferences, specific vertical conferences, is a great way to meet those publishers. And also building a reputation by actually being part of the conversation within different publishers is a really great way to build those connections. And then actually, say, reaching out to them individually, don't send a press release, make sure you send a great email to start with, make sure you've got great content that they might want to polish. And then work out the drivers. Some publishers just want money, they just want to be paid. Some publishers want great content, some publishers want to be part of an ongoing connection. Other publishers will write about a product or a company once and will probably never talk about them again because they just cover things once at a time. It's just working out who the niche is, how to contact them, what to contact them with. For me, they're the critical things. So one last question which we'll go with. How do you distribute and syndicate your content? Is it just Facebook, Twitter? Is it also article directories? Do you create specific articles for those article directories? Let's start with you, John.
My distribution is basically once a blog is published, it gets sent out on Twitter, it gets sent out on Facebook, and it also goes out to my email list after this like 10 posts, I guess it's a synopsis. But if the article I written is as a pillar article, like a really, really interesting article that I think people would like, I would send that out to my list and try to traffic to them.
So we've been called time. So thank you very much, the panel. Thank you all very much.